All right. Well, it looks like it is noon here in Central Time in Nevada, Iowa. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for the Thresher and Sheller webinar today. I'm going to start with some brief introductions and some housekeeping to get everybody started. A lot of folks on this call already know who ALMACO is, but in case there's some folks that are new to ALMACO, we are a total solutions provider for the seed research industry. That ranges from seed processing systems, planting systems, field systems, harvesting systems, aftermarket services like service and support, engineering services if you need it, manufacturing services, as well as financial services, which also is something that you can take advantage of from a thresher and sheller situation too. I think a lot of folks don't know about that. I'm Lisa Dirksen. I'm the marketing manager here at ALMACO. Joining me is Chris Etter. He's our senior inside sales manager. He is our resident expert on threshers and shellers. So he's a wealth of knowledge, and we're excited to have him here today. And with that, I'm going to pass everyone over to Chris Etter. He is going to kick us off for this great topic today.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today. We're going to just kind of do a high-level overview of all of the threshers and shellers that we offer at ALMACO. For those of you that I have not worked with in the past or don't know me, my background is I've been at ALMACO for just about 29 years now, and have worked in many different areas of the business and understand our products and services very well. So with that, I think we'll get going here. And so, like I said, we're going to kind of cover everything at a higher level. There is a fair amount of information to get through, and we want to make sure that we have time for questions at the end. And so what you see on the screen is just a list of all of the threshers and shellers that we offer at ALMACO. We'll go through each one individually, we'll give some information on each one, and do encourage questions at the end. That's what we're here for. So the first one we're going to start out with is the belt thresher, what we call the BT14. This particular thresher is designed for basically potted plants, some cereal grains. You think of potted plants like soybeans, edible beans. We have a lot of people using them in wheat and also hemp. So some of the characteristics of this machine is that it was originally designed for soybean breeding work. And so by using two belts, it's very gentle on the seed as it's threshed. We have several combinations of belts to basically optimize the threshing of the machine. It's very easy to feed, and there's literally no carryover from plant to plant, or if you have a small bundle of plants that you're running through it. So as I mentioned before, we use this machine a lot with soybeans, edible beans, wheat, small grains, peas, millet, and probably the most common machine we sell for like hemp breeding purposes. The machine itself, you can get with your choice of an electric 3/4 horsepower motor that's either in 110, 220, or for overseas 220, 50 hertz. It also comes with your choice, or you could get it with a 3.5 horse gas engine. Um, the the stand types available are going to be a stationary stand or a stand with casters, which is what's pictured. And then we also have a version with it where it's on an axles and a wheel truck assembly where you can tow it to the field with like an ATV or a UTV. It's not meant for highway speeds, but it can be towed with a vehicle. For the threshing belts, we have multiple belt styles available, and over the years, we've kind of developed a guide that says, this is what the best combination of belts is for a particular crop. And so you look at like the upper or lower mini cleat lock, that's what we would use in soybeans or edible beans, chevron pattern, smooth, any combination of the belts. And some examples or we have listed below. And so the belt combinations required is going to be determined by the crop or crops that you're going to be threshing. So on the cleaning system, basically we use a winnowing blower. You'll find that on pretty much all of our threshers, there is a winnowing blower of some sort to clean the seed after it's threshed. It's easily adjustable. You don't have to, open up guards or anything of that nature. So you can adjust it while the machine is running. And for this particular model, we use what we call a squirrel cage fan, which is similar to what we use on our, SPC combines and things of that nature. So the seed, basically, once it's threshed, it's gonna go into a seed chute, which in this picture is on the right-hand side. Lower right-hand side, it's the white chute with the plexiglass window, for viewing. There's a light in there, so you can see what's inside of it, without having to open up the back and look. And it also comes standard with what's called the seed chute extension or, the envelope, extension. Um, so with the belt thresher, it's one of those that can be used in a shop or a lab, or you can take it to the field. One thing to note is if you're going to be outside with it, whether you're in the field or outside of a shop, and it holds true for all threshers, is you want to make sure that the prevailing wind direction is the same as the winnowing air, or the back of the machine, the exit of the machine is away from the wind. So in general, you're gonna position the machine on level ground, you're gonna start it with the push button or with, the pull rope on the gas engine, depending on what you have. You'll feed the crop into the feed chute and let the belts will take the material from that feed chute, thresh them. During that time, in the beginning is when you wanna basically adjust your winnowing air so that you're not blowing seed out the back. And you're also getting a clean sample. Belt clearance can be adjusted at that time too. We do have recommendations for distances and clearances in the manuals and things of that nature, but, it's always best to run a couple test plants through, and then, once everything is threshed for that particular plot, then you would collect the sample out of the seed chute. So we're gonna move on to the small bundle thresher, or what we call the SBT. This particular machine uses an overshot style cylinder and concave. It's very easy to inspect for clean out. There's no carryover. There's no way for anything to hang up on the inside of the machine. It's got a large opening on the top, which is where the material gets fed in. And then there are 5 different styles of threshing cylinder and concaves that are all fully interchangeable. So if you're using the machine for multi-crops, we're using it for soybeans and sorghum, and then maybe, okay, well, now I got some wheat samples, where you would require a different cylinder. It really, is easy to change. It takes about 15 minutes roughly to swap them out between threshers, or between cylinders, sorry about that. With this particular model, you can get it with 3 different power types, 4 different power types roughly. You can get it with a Honda gas engine that's 4 horsepower, a 3.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton, or the electric in 110 or 220, either 50 or 60 hertz. One of the things about our smaller threshers, like this SBT or even the BT14, is that if you had the electric motor on it and you wanted to take it to the field, you could easily put it on a trailer and then run it off of a generator, which gives you a little bit more flexibility. So you can run them outside in the summertime in the field, or in the fall in the field, and then indoors in the winter. Pretty basic as far as the seed delivery goes. It just has a seed catch pan. And you can pretty much thresh any crop that's out there, depending, minus corn. And the threshing cylinder combination is going to be determined by what crop or crops. So on the cleaning system, it's pretty straightforward. As you feed the material in, it's just the threshing cylinder is gonna basically thresh the seed out of the pods or off the heads. There's a little small straw puller that's gonna pull the seed and some of the chaff material through. And then it's gonna fall through a airstream, a winnowing blower. You'll hear the word winnowing blower a lot because we use it on pretty much every machine or that style of seed cleaning. You can fully control the amount of air that the seed falls through. This one is actually, as far as the blower fan itself, is something that we manufacture. It's not a squirrel cage like on the belt thresher. You can change the air the direction that the air hits the recleaning pan, which is what's called the winnowing pan. And then each machine comes with four different, what we call recleaning screens. So if you have seed that gets, kind of blown out towards the back and it falls on the screen, that way it'll fall through that particular hole size, whichever hole size you have in at the time. And then that seed gets pushed back down into the seed collection pan. Um, we also have on this particular model is what we call the screen adjuster, which where the airflow is going through the seed stream. It's actually a screen that keeps foreign material from getting back into the blower, which makes it so that you have a clean, even airstream. For this one on the operation, again, you can use it in, shop or lab or in the field. You want to make sure it's level. Same with the wind direction. You want the winnowing blower blowing, in the opposite direction, or same as the wind direction. When you start the machine, the gauges or the drives are going to engage. And you're going to feed the crop into the cylinder. Now, one thing about this particular machine is that when you're feeding your plant material in, you're not going to let the whole stem and everything go all the way through the machine. You put the plant material in with the heads, you let the threshing cylinder pull the pods and the seed off, and then you pull the stems back out. And so it's something that's different because of the size of it. You really can't have all that stem material going through it. It'll just clog the machine up. And again, at this point, you'd want to collect or adjust your winnowing air, so that you're getting a nice clean sample, but yet you're not blowing seed out the back. And then for collecting the sample, the seed tray, basically it just slides out and then you can dump it into a bag or a bucket or whatever your preferred method is. So the next one is another small thresher. It's called the small Vogel plot thresher, which is, we call it the SVPT. This particular model is really meant for, single heads or a single plant. We have a lot of customers that use this in cereal grains, single plant cereal grains, and sorghum and some soybeans and edible beans, but it's really pretty small and it does work if you have the pods already, say bucked off the plant. And it's pretty straightforward. It's very similar to the SBT. It's just it's got a small straw puller that's going to pull the material down after it's threshed and help with some separation. This particular thresher you can get as it's pictured on a caster stand, or you can get it on a wooden base with a steerable assembly, which if you think about it, it looks like a radio flyer wagon base, similar to that. This one you can get for grain collection, you can do the catch pan or a seed chute. And the seed chute would then, say direct seed if it was to an air delivery, if it was a part of a seed processing line. This one, like pretty much all of our machines, is self-cleaning with no carryover. And it also has an optional air jet cleaning system, which the air jets are built into both sides of the threshing cylinder, the straw puller area, and down towards the winnowing fan. And that's for clean out. You hook an air hose to it, automatically clean the inside of the machine at the end of each sample. So with this one, the motor options are very similar. Whether you get the 110 or 220 volt electric, you can get it with a gas engine, but it's only available on the wheel truck version. So if you wanted that, you'd have to have the radio flyer wagon wheel assembly version of it. So with this one, we have the same style and type of concaves that we do for the small bundle thresher. I will note that even though they're the same style and type, they don't interchange with the small bundle thresher because that one's a 12 or 13-inch wide cylinder and this one's only 6. So it's just the same style and a smaller version. And the crop compatibility is going to be the same as the small bundle thresher where, cereal grains, beans, grasses, pretty much anything small that's single plant, single head. Um, for this particular model, it's gonna be very, very similar to the small bundle thresher. Um, you can use it in the shop or lab or in the field. You wanna make sure it's level. Position it with the wind direction, the same as the window mirror. Um, Again, you're gonna start the machine, engage the drives, and then when you feed this crop into the cylinder, it's gonna be the same. Where you just feed the heads down into it and then pull the stems back out. Um, Now, what I have seen in the past, with some customers, instead of sending, or using the stem as, say something, say like you leave 12 inches of stem on, some wheat heads. I've had customers where they just clip the wheat heads off and just run the heads through it in general. That way you don't have to worry about it. But sometimes it doesn't thresh as nice if you don't have a stem on it. So I always recommend to leave at least a foot worth of stem below the heads. That way you have something to hang on to, and it keeps your hands away from the threshing cylinder and concave. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the large towable threshers that ALMACO has available. Um, the first one is what we call the large plot thresher, or the LPT. Um, this is gonna be a large, or high volume thresher. That you're gonna have a little platform to stand on, and the so you're gonna be up off the ground, but it's that way for a reason, so you can feed more material through it. Um, so on this one, this particular model uses what we call the overstrap concave style threshing cylinder. So when you feed the material in, it's basically going to pull it in over the top of the threshing cylinder. Versus you think about our next thresher that we're going to look at, or even a combine where it pulls it in underneath. And so with this one, it's very easy to feed and inspect. Um, there's really one, you flip the feed pan up in between lots if you want to inspect to make sure all the seeds out. And the concave is opened by by the handle that you see in the picture. Um, the concaves and threshers or threshing cylinders on this particular machine are interchangeable as well. Um, and one thing to note is that we use a torsion axle, and you can tow this at full highway speeds. And you don't even really know that's behind you. It's 70 or 75 mile an hour. It pulls really nice. So the threshing cylinder type available is going to be a metal rasp bar, which is going to be very similar to what you'd see in a conventional combine. Um, the cylinder on the metal rasp bar style is completely open for purity reasons, so that there's nowhere for any seed to hang up. You can get a rubber coated metal rasp bar style threshing cylinder and concave, and again, the cylinder itself is open so that you can visually look at it and make sure that there's no seed left in it. And then the most aggressive is going to be the square spike tooth cylinder, which is what we would recommend for, say, like any cereal grain or rice, or really hard uh, a seed to get threshed. Basically, it's pretty aggressive, so you wouldn't want to use it on soybeans or anything like that, because it would just pulverize it. Um, there are also different threshing cylinder drive types for this machine, and the standard is this good. It's going to be a standard variable speed that has a certain RPM range. If you're doing some more delicate crops, so say like hulless barley or something along those lines, we would probably want to go with a low speed variable speed on the threshing cylinder drive, just to reduce any damage. And then high speed is what we would recommend for, cereal grains and things of that type of crop. So this particular model, you can get it with an 8 horse Honda gas engine of this electric start, um, and a 5 horse electric, 220 volt, either 50 or 60 hertz, or a diesel, which is a 9 horse Hatz with electric start. And we do have the option to do dual powered with diesel and electric. So if you are going to be using the machine, several months out of the year, you want to do part of it in the field, part of it in the shop, you have that ability. And This machine is pretty much compatible with all crops, as listed in multiples. I mean, basically everything except for corn. Um, so as far as like the cleaning systems, the way the machine works is once the material is in this case you throw the whole bundle of material through the machine, it gets threshed off. There's a straw puller that kind of helps pull the material through the threshing cylinder. And then it falls onto a shaker pan, and then the seed at that point is separated from the chaff. And then as it's being shaken out the back, then the seed falls through that airstream, the winnowing blower, which is basically you have uh, three different ways of adjusting that air. One is the amount of volume going through it that the seed falls through. You can deflect the air onto the windage tray to help with even further cleaning. And at that point, the adjustable windage tray in the back is another option to help, just give that final seed clean. The machine itself uses a single Grappel style sieve, and as you can see on the screen, we have multiple sizes available. And the sieve that would be required is all going to be determined by, what crop or crops you're going to be threshing with it. So for seed delivery, the standard is going to be a seed chute where you would just put, some sort of collection bucket, some sort of seed catch bucket, either, something that we make or, a 5 gallon bucket or 2 gallon bucket, whatever you want to catch it in, or a tray. We do have an optional, what we call the air delivery system, which basically has a cyclone blower on it. And it as the seed is cleaned and it falls into what would be the seed chute, now it falls into an air delivery tube, and the cyclone would be positioned right by the operator station. So the operator could, in theory, feed everything into the threshing cylinder and then collect the sample without getting off of the machine. So the other some common options that we have on it, I mentioned the seed catch bucket. We also can include an air compressor that's on board. It's belt driven and it has a tank and a hose. So if we're doing a lot of threshing out in the field, in between, certain plots, you could use that air compressor to blow the machine out, clean it out, during your inspection. And then we also have a threshing cylinder tachometer option, which if you're doing multiple crops, it really is beneficial, so that that if you're threshing soybeans, you gotta be at, say, somewhere around 400 RPMs, but if you're threshing wheat, you gotta be at 1200. So it's just that the easy way to know how fast the cylinder's turning. So for the operation of this particular machine, um, we listed as, you're gonna tow to the field. It's best to uncouple it from the tow vehicle, because you will potentially have to make adjustments. You may not be level. And the key with this machine is making sure that it's level when you're in the field. Um, Same with the other machines, make sure that the prevailing wind direction is going the same direction as the winnowing air. Um, and then you use the jack to level it. And you may also use that jack to help control the time that the crop is on the sieve. So if it's on there too long, and it's just not coming out, then you'd raise it up a little bit. If your material's coming out too fast and you got a lot of seeds coming out the back, then you'd lower it a little bit. It's just some fine adjustment. Um, and at this point, once you have it all leveled, then you're gonna start the machine, which will engage the drives. Um, you can do this one. You can feed the crop into that cylinder with or without the stems. I would say that 99% of people are just throwing a big bundle of material in it and letting the machine do the work. That's what it's designed for. And again, the first couple samples you run through is when you'd want to adjust your winnowing air for the best cleaning. So the next one we're going to talk about is the low profile plot thresher, or what we call the LPR. This is another large volume machine, uh, but it has a lower feeding height compared to the others. So So the main differences between the LPR and say the LPT is that this particular model has what we call a conventional threshing cylinder in concaves. So it's an underslung concave, very similar to, um, you think about a commercial combine. It's the same style, and basically you adjust the concave with a lever, just like you say you would maybe on a combine. And so it also has a lower feeding height with no operator platform required, and that's a big thing, I would say, for somebody like myself. The feeding height is less than 5 foot, and I'm all of 5'4", and I have no problem reaching the feed area safely. Um, this one is towable at highway speeds as well. And for this one, the crop compatibility is all crops, including corn. And so this is probably the most versatile large plot thresher we have, um, because it can be used for everything. For the power types, you can get the 8 horsepower Honda gas engine, 5 horse electric 220, a diesel that's 9 horsepower. And again, this one, no, the difference between this and the LPT is that on the dual power, you can get it with diesel or gas and electric. And so there's one of the difference there. Um, to feed the material, the standard is going to be the feed pan, where you just manually feed material into the machine. The threshing cylinder will take it and do the work. And then we do have a belt feed option, which is a small conveyor that feeds material in the machine. And you have to feed the material to the conveyor, but once it's in that little conveyor, um, the machine does the rest. You don't have to worry about helping it feed through. You don't have to have your hands down by the threshing cylinder and things of that nature. So, um, we sell a handful of those a year with the belt feed option. So on this particular machine, we only have one style of threshing cylinder, and it's going to be a fully enclosed metal rasp bar cylinder. There are two different options for the concave. So the standard wire spacing is going to be 1/2 inch between wires, which is what I would say if you're doing, row crops, so corn, soybeans, edible beans, you would need the larger wire spacing. The narrow wire would be more for if you're using it for cereal grains or grasses. Um, and then we also have some bolt-in blanking plates that help with threshing on the narrow wire concaves. Um, this machine will have the same style of threshing cylinder drive types, where you have the standard, a low speed, and a high speed. For the cleaning system, it's going to be very similar to the LPT, where it has the straw puller, and that's basically going to direct and meter the material flow into the machine. Um, we're still separating it with a single sieve. And the winnowing blower is being controlled exactly the same as the LPT. Um, where we have the baffle control, and we use a squirrel cage fan, and um, we also use a single sieve on this machine. And there are a lot of components that are what I would say interchangeable between the two. And so if you had, a location that maybe had an LPR and one location had an LPT, or you had one of each at the same location, you could buy multiple sieves and they would work in both machines. Um, and this is gonna have the same seed delivery types as the other machine we looked at. The seed chute is the standard. The air delivery is an option. This time, instead of being up on the platform, it's gonna be accessible from the ground. It's at about waist height where the envelope holder is, or the bag holder. And the options are gonna be very, very similar with the LPR, where you can have your option to get an air compressor, the catch bucket, the cylinder tack, special feed pan guarding. And we have new options now within the last 6 months for interlock guard switches, and an e-stop on the cylinder with a brake. So the operation in the field is gonna be very, very similar, or exactly the same really, as the LPT. Once you get to the field, you get it unhooked and get it leveled, and then you can physically start. uh, using the machine. So the last large thresher that we have available is going to be what we call the large Vogel plot thresher, which is we call it the LVPT. Um, this particular machine is going to use an overshot style concave and threshing cylinder. Um, it's going to be real easy to feed. There is no way for carryover on the inside. It's all completely smooth. Um, and it, again, it's towable highway speeds. The threshing cylinder types for this particular model are going to be a rubber rasp bar cylinder and concave. And then we have a forged spike tooth cylinder, and then that same cylinder with an e-stop brake. Um, this machine, I would say, is the most common machine that is sold for all cereal grains and rice. Um, we have some people using them in soybeans and stuff, but I would say 99% of our customers are using this machine when it comes to cereal grains. It was based off the original Vogel design that came out of Washington State in the 60s. Um, and so we've obviously improved it over the years. And at the current time, ALMACO is the only company that builds this machine anymore. We're uh, the only one that can provide it, I guess. So the power types on this one are going to be similar to the others, where it's an 8 horse Honda, 5 horse electric, or a 9 horse diesel. Um, at this time, we haven't done a dual drive, but it is possible if somebody wanted a dual drive that we could put one on it. Um, and the crop compatibility is pretty much all the crops listed up here with the edible beans, wheat, soybeans, grasses, and oats and barley and rice. And I would say, like I said, the most common crops that are going to be run through this are going to be all cereal grains and rice. Um, so this one for the cleaning system, it basically just has the straw puller. Once it comes out of the cylinder, it's just a large straw puller that pulls everything down onto the shaker pan. Uh, but this one has a little bit different style of winnowing blower, where it's a paddle version that we make. Um, and so the the air adjustment is going to be the same, where you have an intake air shutter, and that's going to basically regulate how much airflow is coming out the back. And then we use a deflector to change the angle of the air for cleaning, along with the windage pan in the back to help with that additional fine tuning. Um, right now for seed delivery, the seed chute is the only option we have for it. So there's no air delivery. If somebody wanted an air delivery, we could probably put one on it, but it would take some engineering resources and things of that nature, but it could be done. And then the additional options again are the threshing cylinder tack, the seed catch bucket, and an onboard air compressor. So this is going to be pretty much the same as the other ones, where we're going to get it to the field, get it uncoupled, get it leveled, um, start the machine, which is going to engage the drives, and feed that crop into the cylinder. And uh, this one really likes it when you feed a big bundle of wheat. It works best. The more material you have, the better it threshes. So, and one thing I would like to note as part of the operation on this is if you notice in the picture, this machine actually has two e-stops on it. And that's mainly because you're going to have one person on that platform and then one person down below catching the seed. And so we make it so that if there's an issue, either the person on the platform or the person on the ground can, stop that machine instantly. Okay, so from here, we're gonna move on to the Mazer, which is our newest, I shouldn't say newest, I guess it was put out in like 2007, but it seems new to me. Um, the Mazer, which is a whole ear corn sheller, you can use it in small batches or large bulk material. Um, so again, you can do it in small batches of 10 to 15 years, or we have some customers that use an in-feed conveyor and they just dump, bags of it, of ear corn, say 50-pound bags or 50 ears at a time. Um, this particular model uses two belts to shell the corn off the cob. It's very gentle on the seed. Um, and the top belt is fully adjustable. So if you have different ear sizes, you're able to, adjust that belt to accommodate that. Um, there's really nowhere for seed to get hung up. So it's when you're working with transgenic, it's nice and easy to clean out. Um, we have protective shielding on it for the operator's safety, but there's also plexiglass windows for viewing so you can see the material go through it. You can see the cobs rolling through, the seed getting shelled, and then there's also viewing windows for the cob discharge and for where the seed comes out. Very low maintenance on the machine. There's only a couple belts and all the bearings are pretty much sealed, so there's no grease points. Um, on average, I would say the cycle time for one ear is anywhere between 5 to 15 seconds, depending on the size of the ear. And one thing to note with this one is that we are able to sell this in a CE certified version for Europe and overseas. Um, and the main power source is just going to be either a 110, a 110 motor for the US or a 220 single phase in the US or overseas, depending on how it's being used. So for this one, it really is going to be used either in a shop or lab type setting. It's heavy enough you wouldn't want to try to put it on a trailer, even though we do put forklift pockets on it. Most people just set it up in a dedicated area, for threshing and use it inside. Um, if it's going to be inside, it should be at least on level ground. And then the upper belt you'd want to adjust to match the ear size. And there's indicators on the adjuster handle that kind of gives you a 1 through 11 that says, if you're kind of a medium size ear, you kind of go in the middle. Um, at this point, then you put the ears into what we call the intake belt. So in this picture on the right hand side, there's a little feed pan. You just dump all your ears into that little feed pan and start pushing them into the intake belt. And then once the belt will feed it in between the two thresher or shelling belts. Um, the corn itself comes out the kind of the rear of the machine, where you see the dust aspirator, and then the cobs come out towards the front where you just fed them in. So the next one is the Mazer SES, and this is really, it's just a single ear corn sheller. Um, it's really meant for, very small batches. If you had, say, 5 to 10 ears of a certain, maybe inbred or something like that. Um, one ear, depending on the size and, how small the kernels are, it's anywhere from 2 to 5 seconds per ear. Um, and some of the different features of this particular model is that we have a cob separation door, so there's no way for the corn, once it's shelled, to actually exit with the cob. It comes out completely separate. Um, the handle on it is basically what we call a mechanical advantage, and it reduces the force to required to shell. You put very, very little pressure on it, and the four rollers, they do all the work. And we do use four rubber rollers for this. They're easily accessible, and they're replaceable if needed. Um, for inspection, there's a top assembly that basically you can look through the window. You can see it working. It's also a quick latch on the cover if you need to get in for clean out or something of that nature. And then every machine comes with the aspiration attachment so that you can hook it up to a dust collector, small dust collector if needed. So this particular model comes in just electric only. Um, I won't go through all of the full specs on it, but it's just 110 or 220, 50 or 60 hertz. Um, and you kind of have some of the idea of the dimensions of the rollers and the size. It takes up a very small footprint in general. Um, so for this one, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn the machine on and there's a little feed slot. You can see on the handles on the left side of this picture. Above that is a feed slot, where you would put the ear corn in. You lift the handle to let it fall into the threshing chamber. And then as you lower the handle back down, you're gonna put a little pressure on it and that's what's gonna start threshing or shelling of the material, the kernels. Um, Once the kernels are shelled off the cob, then they're gonna come out a separate chute, which is gonna go to the envelope holder. Um, and then the cob is gonna come out the back of the machine into, some sort of, trash can or something that you choose to put behind it. Um, at that point, you just, rinse and repeat, so to speak. You just keep doing it until you're done and then just hit the off when you're ready to be completed. So as we move forward here, there's some common accessories and options that we can upgrade or you can include. And so some of the optional accessories are the air blast seed cleaner. Well, we have a seed transfer stand, which works with all of our threshers. We have a waste cart that also works with all of our threshers. And then we have what we call the portable seed lab with a D1 data collection on it. And so if there's times that you're using, these threshers in a shop or lab and you want to take a weight, test weight or moisture or take data off of it, that was the idea behind the portable seed lab, is that you wouldn't have to have a full-blown combine to do the work. You can do it with a thresher and then, take your data right there in the lab with it. Um, so seed processing systems. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on this particular one because we've already done a seed processing webinar about a year ago. But the idea is we want to show how, our machines are versatile. They're interchangeable. You can use them as standalones, or you can integrate them into a processing line. And so some of the items that we have in the processing line, are gonna be, I would say we can do the shelling and the threshing, cleaning, grading, all of that is a full line, but the three most common ones that we put into our seed processing is gonna be, the small bundle or the SVPT, the belt thresher and the mazer. Um, what you're seeing on the screen right now is just some examples of what could potentially be in a full processing line or even a mini processing line. We have some folks that'll say, well, I don't need a full line. I just I want to shell my corn and I want to send it from there to a seed boss. I need to grade it and then I'm just going to package it, at that point. And so, or you could do something as similar as a full, automatic processing line. Um, and so like with the belt threshers, I would say probably the most common thing we do with the belt threshers is what we call the threshing plenum, where you have a conveyor with say anywhere from 3 to 6 belt threshers attached to it. And you can use all of them at the same time. And then that conveyor takes all the waste into a grinder and so there's lots of different options and really it's meant to just show how interchangeable and versatile these machines are. Oh, okay, so some of the things that we do offer as well for all the threshers is the aftermarket services where we have a dedicated call center here in our facility here in Iowa for parts and service troubleshooting if needed. We have a central service facility that takes care of all of our in-house planter, combine, thresher services, whether it's preventative maintenance or just normal general service work or major repairs. Um, we have a field service team that their whole job is to just drive around the country and go to customer locations and do those same types of services on site. Um, we have capabilities of doing major repairs on site and things as small as just changing the V-belt if needed. Um, for warranty, all of our machines come with a 2-year warranty. which I think most others in the industry are one, but we provide 2-year warranty from the date of shipment. And then all of our threshers are built with parts that can be sourced locally, so it's all standard SAE. Um, if you have a V belt that goes bad, or one of the drive belts, you don't have to call me for a part. You can go to your local Napa, John Deere, local farm store to get them. There are certain components that would have to come from us, but those are the ones that are machine specific that's ALMACO built.